Hello and welcome to Dingoes Ate My Podcast. I'm Paul.
And I'm Dave.
And this week we are discussing the series finale of Angel, Not Fade Away. Alrighty. So this episode originally aired May 19th, 2004, attracting 5.31 million viewers. So let us
Understandable.
Yes. So let us start off with the number one film in America this week, Dave. Any idea what it could be?
So last week I kind of mentioned to you that I did a little bit of research to around this time, sort of see the particular things that were out around this time. And Paul, it was the start of it. Oh
What?
God, it was the start of it, Paul. The start of Shrek 2, wasn't it?
Yes, it's Shrek 2 with $108 million at the box office.
Oh God, it's the start of it. Thankfully it ended a couple of years back, but still, the stain has not gone away.
Do you remember when we played the Shrek 2 video game?
Yes. It was also a thing.
And it was really bad.
Understandable. Though, in comparison to other particular things that could be made around that time, it could have been a hell of a lot worse.
We're going to agree to disagree. That was pretty
Doing it.
dreadful. Anyway, moving on to the number one song in America this week, Dave.
Please. It's the end of the series, and most likely the time when this is finally going to end. Can you please tell me that it's not going to be Yeah like it was last week?
I have good news, Dave. It is not Yeah.
Oh, thank bloody God.
However,
Next question, what the hell is it now?
it is another Usher song.
Because of course it is. It was his time.
It's a song called Burn. Which
And again, nothing immediately comes to mind, which is quite honestly pretty much anything that Usher typically works with.
I don't remember it either, but that, again, surprises no one. Alrighty, let us go on to video games. So I think we'll do up to the end of May, just because that's an easy cutoff point. So, May 21st, if you had a Game Boy Advance, you could pick up classic NES series Dr. Mario.
Yes, when Nintendo was starting to get particular ideas of like, man, we have a whole lot of stuff in our library. How are we going to re-release it to people?
Yeah, they'd done a few of these previously in the year. They had released, I think, like the original like Super Mario Bros. And stuff, but at least they were continuing it and still putting them out. If that didn't catch your eye, also on May 21st, if you are a PS2 gamer, you could pick up Way of the Samurai 2.
Supposed neatness?
I've never played it. I don't know anything about it.
Indeed.
On May 24th, if you had a Game Boy Advance and you decided you wanted some more Mario in your life, you could pick up Mario vs. Donkey Kong.
Because, that was a thing. The original design of when they first designed Donkey Kong or so in the arcades and whatnot. It's like, hey, we haven't done this in a couple of years. Let's bring it back on a handheld system.
Absolutely. May 25th, if you were an Xbox player, you could pick up Metal Slug 3.
Yes, because that was very fun and interesting.
Yes, the Metal Slug games are very good. Also on May 25th, if you were an Xbox or a PC gamer, you could pick up Thief Deadly Shadows.
The one? Curious now.
It's the third game in the Thief series.
Better with that. I was curious with the thing.
And the only one made by Ion Storm.
Okay. I may have gotten it confused with a different series because my first thought was like, it's one of the particular things that FromSoft used to work on. But it's like,
No.
wait, no, it was a different one, I think.
Yeah, no, this wasn't a FromSoft game. And also May 25th, I'm sure the game that sold by far the most copies. If you had a PS2, Xbox, GameCube, Game Boy Advance, or a PC, you could play Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban.
Indeed, because the Harry Potter series is a thing.
Yes, it is. And
Additionally, it's the game that I actually play on every now and again.
oh, this one?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I've never played any of the Harry Potter games.
Again, it's typical enough. action adventure style sort of gameplay and whatnot. The interesting thing with this one is it allows you to play more than just Harry. It allows you to play as three other characters.
I like that's good, but I'm surprised that wasn't a thing from like the first one. But okay,
I suppose just keeping main focused on Harry and whatnot.
I mean, I
That
guess.
and the confusion of trying to get it switched over to multiple characters at that point in time when the other games were in development might have been a bit of
I mean, maybe I don't know. I notoriously know very little about Harry Potter, so I'm probably not the person to, you know.
possibly for the best, despite the fact that most likely the one game that's out recently would possibly be able to somewhat assist, though would possibly leave you very confused also.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, let us get into the episode. And I had the Bing Chat AI write a haiku for this episode. So here's
Oh
what
boy,
they
let's see what it has to say about the or series finale.
rain pouring down hard. Angel and his team fight on. Good can still make change.
Yay!
It's certainly a haiku. Okay, so let us go into the plot of this episode. All right. Angel briefs his team on his plan to kill all the members of the Circle of the Black Thorn. Marcus Hamilton calls Angel to an emergency meeting of the Circle, where the other members express doubts about Angel's loyalties. Angel proves himself to them by renouncing his role in the Shanshu prophecy, thereby giving up his chance to be human. Back at Wolfram and Hart, Angel meets with his old enemy, Lindsay, and enlists him in the planned attack on the Circle. He then tells the rest of the rest of the group, that the plan will proceed that night. Lauren has serious reservations about Angel's plan, and his mood is dark and somber. Angel advises his friends to spend the rest of the day as if it were the last, surmising that they will most likely not survive the night. Angel visits his son Connor, who reveals he knows that Angel is his father. His old memories are now mixed in with his new ones, and he understands and appreciates why Angel did what he did. Lindsay spends the day with Eve, who is suspicious of Angel, even though Lindsay now trusts him. Gunn spends his day helping Anne at the homeless shelter that she maintains. Spike goes to a CD bar where he drinks heavily and recites poetry on stage. Wesley spends his day in his apartment tending to Illyria's wounds, telling her that there is nothing else he wants and nowhere for him to be. But when Illyria asks why he will not let her comfort him in Fred's form, Wesley admits that even though he loves and misses Fred, he cannot face the harsh reality of Fred's death in order to survive. He must face the harsh reality of Fred's death in order to survive. The team splits up to attack members of the Circle separately, making plans to reunite if they survive their missions. As they leave, Lauren tells Angel that this is the last thing he will do for him, as he is leaving for good. Gunn, Spike, and Illyria kill their targets. Lindsay and Lauren wipe out the Chevrin clan. Then, on Angel's order, Lauren executes Lindsay and then leaves, traumatized by his ordeal. Wesley is killed as he knocks out Cyrus Vale. As he dies, a devastated Illyria comforts him in Fred's guise, then kills Vane when he tries to regain consciousness. Lie to me. Hamilton, warned of the plan by Harmony, confronts Angel, intent on stopping his plan to kill the Circle's leader. Angel reveals that he already anticipated Harmony's betrayal and has already poisoned Archduke Sabesis. The two begin their struggle. Angel is losing his fight with Hamilton until Connor arrives to join the fight. Hamilton proudly announces that the power of the senior partners courses through his veins, prompting Angel to assume his vampiric form and drink his blood, acquiring enough of Hamilton's strength to defeat him. Expecting a swift counterattack from the senior partners as the building begins to collapse, Angel directs Connor to leave, then heads to a rendezvous with his surviving allies. An army of supernatural creatures descend on Angel, Spike, Illyria, and a wounded Gunn. As the episode and series ends, the four prepare for battle, and Angel declares, "Let's go to work," and, well, I kind of want to slay the dragon. That is how the series ends.
Well, what a way to end, I suppose.
So what did you think of this, Dave?
So on whole, it was definitely interesting with getting the plan together, showing all the particular people that we saw from the previous episode or had interactions with, and seeing the plan, how things would supposedly go, and interesting enough seeing kind of everyone's last day with everything there, especially on one hand Lauren, but on the other hand also Harmony, with wanting her to have some case within it. But again, two of the big things seeing with that was just Lauren's final day and his part within the plan was interesting and fitting, I suppose would be the best way to sort of put it.
Yep.
And again, just with all the stuff that he's kind of been through with the entire team and all the stuff that's been going on, it's like, yeah, I'd probably be with him. It's like, God, I'm fucking tired. I need a goddamn drink.
Yeah, I like how everybody kind of gets like that little kind of last moment kind of thing. Like Gunn spending that time with Anne, like that's really nice, and it's nice to have Anne come back for even just like a short scene.
Mm.
Yeah, I quite like this finale. I think it's very suiting for the series on like a thematic level.
It's definitely true. And I think the one of the characters just, oh my gosh, Harmony, like, you figured she'd be somewhat of a throwaway character with things, but my goodness, just with this, it's like, uh, her being somewhat involved within the plan, but not specifically her part with it. And then especially when Angel comes in and realizes the betrayal, it's like, you betrayed me. It's like, I would never do that. It's like, I knew you would do that. It's like, how would you know that I would do that? Sweetie, you don't have a soul. Well, you can at least appreciate that I'm still someone here. And then it's like, well, you're fired. And it's like, you're really firing me? It's like, do you want to be crushed within this building? It's like, could you at least give me a good recommendation? They just like, yeah, sure. Just grab one of the forms in behind there and sign it yourself. It's like, thank you. It's interesting if they kept that sort of idea and whether or not she would either appear in other media or how long she would supposedly last after all this.
Yeah, I don't like. I feel like Harmony at this point, like I don't know how, if there was a season 6, I don't know how you would bring her back. Because like, why would anybody trust her at this point? Because she's betrayed people multiple times.
I suppose true, but then it's also the case of it'd be interesting within an episode. It's like, hey, I heard there was supposed openings again.
Yeah,
Yes.
you could bring her back as like a one off, but I don't think you could make her like a somewhat like regular character again.
Mm.
Yeah. Alrighty. So, what do you think of the ending specifically? Because I know for some people it's a disappointment, and I think it's really clever.
Say so much a disappointment. It's definitely not the greatest with how the things sort of go. Man, just the names are getting messed up in my head. Just with words, David. Where are the things? Wesley. It was Wesley. Just
Yes.
again his part and doing the best he could, but just the case that he couldn't make it through it. And even more so of just Illyria managing to be there in his final moments. In the case of him lying to him with his dying moment and whatnot. It's sad. It also kind of fits within the story that he's kind of gone through. Because, oh man, that man's been through some shit.
Yes.
And additionally, yeah, I don't think Gunn's gonna be sticking around for too long if they were going into another season, because especially with his injury, what they were facing up against.
So, I really like the whole thing with Wesley. I think that's like a really good scene, and obviously it's calling back to previous episodes and stuff. I think that was really well done. I think it's a really good ending for Wesley as a character because he gets to redeem himself and like have that moment of happiness. Yeah. For Gunn, I know what they do in the comic that's supposed to be a continuation, which I'm not a huge fan of, at least from memory, because I haven't read the comic in a long time. But basically, spoilers for the comic that came out like 15 years ago or whatever, Gunn gets turned into a vampire.
Mild sadness for him. It's again been a while, but that's probably one of his worst fears.
Yeah, and I think like that could be interesting, but I'm kind of like I don't know how I feel about that. Um, I know some people were really unhappy because you don't get like this huge like the ending of Buffy. There was like this huge battle and there was a sense of closure where there isn't with this, which I actually think kind of like is the point. Because like Buffy is very much a show, like we've said multiple times. Buffy is a show about like growing up and becoming an adult, and there's like a definitive endpoint. Whereas Angel is a show about like being an adult and like you don't like you just kind of keep going. Like the
Yes, for all the young children who are concerned about growing up, once you get to that particular age, and again, with that particular word I hear nowadays with the younger generation, the adulting, that never ends.
yeah, and that's kind of like the point of the series is like, and it you can also use it as like a metaphor for like addiction recovery, where like you might not be using whatever substance it was that you were addicted to, but that like the struggle doesn't just go away one day. Like you continually have to work on it. So like
Yep.
I think it's a really effective ending. Like I know some people wanted like the big cataclysmic battle, but that's kind of not what the series was ever about. So
Yeah, and it's kind of one of those things of it's always interesting to see those sorts of things, but that's the big fancy popcorn moment. There needs to be more substance for an actual show to kind of exist.
yeah, no, I really like the series finale here.
Mm.
Yeah, so that was Angel. What did you think of the series overall, Dave?
Again, with one of those particular things, just with how the series went along, there were moments and there were characters. Just on the whole, it's not quite as rememberable as Buffy was. I think either just with the amount that Buffy kind of had, or just with its particular style or events that they kind of had. Like there are moments and things within Angel I can specifically recall, but definitely not as many as Buffy.
Yeah, okay. So overall, you liked Buffy more than you did Angel,
Hmm.
which that's totally
Well,
valid because like they're definitely
I wouldn't
targeting
say
different
that I
audiences.
like either one of them more than the other. I think my tier list would be more like a bookshelf. Each one of them would sit perfectly fine on a certain spot of one shelf of the bookshelf because they are that good. It's just, I wouldn't put it like in the complete upper echelon of things, but it's, I suppose the weirdest way to say it, it's a part of me now. I've watched this series and the particular aspects, stories, and things within the stories are something I enjoy and want to either see in the future or rewatch at some particular points in time. And I could possibly get some of the jokes or references that people bring up about it.
Yes, I will say like I quite like Angel. I think I like Buffy more. Part of that is because there are very few episodes of Angel that I feel like you can go back and enjoy like just that single episode. Whereas with Buffy, there's a lot of episodes where I can go back and just rewatch like Band Candy and just enjoy that episode as a complete story.
Mm.
Where that doesn't happen as much in Angel, especially in later seasons. But I love both of them, and like I think they're both fantastic.
Mm. Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely. So that I think brings us to an end, except for international titles for this episode. Let's see what we have. Alrighty. So in Czech, it translates as "the last man." In Finnish, it translates as "last battle." In French, "the ultimate battle." In Hungarian, "endgame." In Italian, we will not fade." That's weird.
Hmm.
In Brazilian Portuguese, maintaining the strength. In Russian, not fade. And in Latin American and Spain Spanish, it translates to don't fade away.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yes.
fits. Either similar to the English title or, again, last episode, giant battle, last end game sort of stuff sort of happening.
Yes. Do you know what the title is a reference to? I'm just
Um,
wondering.
wait. Nothing immediately comes to mind.
It's a reference to a Buddy Holly song,
Okay.
and that's been
What has.
covered by like a bunch of other people. But
Okay.
yeah, so I thought that was kind of interesting. Anyway, did you have anything else you wanted to bring up about the series or the episode?
Hmm. I think on whole, I'm not exactly sure which particular company still holds rights for either the Buffy series or the Angel series with where they would sit
Disney.
that. But it's still sort of a case of, I especially remember with after we finished Buffy, that it still has somewhat of a presence in certain aspects, gets still brought up in certain circles with things. I wouldn't be surprised with Angel, but maybe to a lesser extent. Just sort of the question of its availability and still having or people having access to seeing the series, getting this sort of stuff seen by newer generations and whatnot.
So I know at least in Canada, I can't speak to other countries because we live in Canada. Both series are available on Disney Plus because Disney owns the rights to the series now when they bought Fox.
Hmm.
There was a there was going to be a Buffy reboot a few years ago, but it never ended up happening.
Hmm.
Which would have I forget which network it was going to be on, or if they'd even announced that. But I know there was talk of one. Maybe like 5 years ago or so. I don't know.
Hmm.
Yeah, so there. I think there's a chance that it could happen. I feel like it's a show that has enough of a following that at some point Disney is going to look at it and go like, "We have this property that like there's a lot of nostalgia attached to it. People really love it. Like, why aren't we making more money off of it?"
Hmm.
Yeah. So, anything else, Dave?
No, I think that's about it.
Well, then, this has been a very fun journey, and I am delighted that you have taken it with me, sir. And this is the last thing we will ever do in the Buffyverse, unless something else comes along. So I guess this is a time for us to say goodbye and fade away.
Hmm.